So Israel is threatening the stability of the global system by its conduct against the Palestinian people. And the United States' support of Israel is enabling Israel to threaten the global system of a multilateral system and good governance. And that makes a peaceful global order sit on tenterhooks. And it's for that reason that we, as the government of South Africa, have decided to recall all our diplomats in Tel Aviv for consultation. The period, it will be determined by EDERCO. Consultation on what? They will brief us on the situation, what can be done, and other things that they have to do. And that recall for consultation is a serious signal that South Africa takes a very dim view on the situation that is currently permeating in that.
After 8 o'clock on a very wet and grey Gauteng morning, welcome to the program. Please take care on the roads. I passed quite a hectic accident on my way to work, so please do keep safe. And after having a listen to the minister in the presidency confirming that South Africa has recalled all its diplomats in Tel Aviv, they've actually called them back for consultation. What does that exactly mean? So let's speak with Member of Parliament of Greater Athlone, Faiz Jacob. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the program.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Greetings, Ms. Julie, and all the listeners and viewers of Salam TV. It's great to be back on the program. I'm coming to you live from Mtata. It's also very wet. We're doing public hearings on this side, so be safe on the road.
Always a pleasure talking with you. Do we welcome the recalling of the South African diplomats from apartheid Israel, knowing that we've been told by the minister in the presidency that they're being recalled for a consultation? Does that mean that this is not a permanent recall? How do we understand it?
I think for me, I welcomed it that our president and the cabinet discussed the matter and also made a decision to withdraw our diplomats. It sends a strong signal, and we're joining thousands of people, peace-loving people across the globe, to say that enough is enough, and we can't allow Israel with its unfettered access to commit and continue the genocide. So it's a step in the right direction. I think we mustn't be too technical about it. I think what we are calling for, and I will still continue lobbying the ANC and also our government. The ANC has a long-standing history with the support of the Palestinian people. But I think now it's time for action. We need to demonstrate and express our solidarity in action in real terms. And so I will certainly lobby for the expulsion of the Israeli ambassador, and also the close down of the Israeli embassy here in South Africa, because we need to demonstrate this act of solidarity. We know global situations, a lot of African countries are still being bought by checkbook politics, and so they're also not doing that. We also see the Middle East, a lot of countries also playing or ambivalent about this. But we as South Africa, I think we must welcome our president's bold step, and we're going to continue. I'm certainly in the ANC. There is going to be campaigns for a united front against and support for the people of Palestine. So we're looking forward to continued marches, continued advocacy. I think we want to make more statements in Parliament, but also open up that corridor, that humanitarian corridor. I think we're also calling for maybe a fund, a South African solidarity fund that we can also pledge and get South Africans to support the people of Palestine. But more must be done. So I think it's a step in the right direction. More than 9,000 people have been killed, bombed, maimed, and mainly women and children. So you're quite correct that every day we see the trauma live. And we as a freedom-loving country, we can't sit still. And so we must continue doing faith, doing prayers, but also continue doing the solidarity work. Look, I think we see now that it's almost Israel is being treated like kid gloves in United Nations, and we need to ask them to do the same what they're doing to calling on sanctions against apartheid Israel for the for violations of human rights, disregard for international law. We're also calling for the international courts, just like they called for warrants of arrest. Netanyahu must also be called, and his war cabinet must be called for issuing warrants of arrest, and they must also go and appear for these human rights violations. But more importantly, we as South Africans, it's very shocked, but I've been told that more than 17,000 South African citizens have played a role in the Israeli Defense Force in some way or the other. And so these atrocities, there is a bill, and we're studying that bill. I think it's a mercenary act. And so we're calling on the National Prosecuting Authority to start prosecuting these South Africans and put stringent measures to ensure that they are being charged. Maybe we should also look at withdrawing those that have dual membership, dual citizen. They may not participate in any military activity, and that is constitute a human rights violation. So I think that's also one aspect that we need to push. And then obviously a targeted trade boycott of all the Israeli state products. We need to show our disgust, our condemnation, and we need to continue acting in solidarity. The world is on the side of Palestine, and so therefore we as South Africans must also do more to ensure that our voices are heard. And with international pressure, we must force Israel to ensure that we get a two-state solution. We're calling on peace, but we're not calling on hollow peace. We stand with the Palestinians that has made the sacrifice, that continues to struggle on a daily basis for their self-determination.
Faiz, you made a couple of comments there which are very, very interesting, and I'd like to expand on those. Obviously, we are looking at issues around war crimes. The ministers or the Israel government need to account for these war crimes. I used the word genocide earlier on in the month. I think it might have been in an interview either with you or with, I think, Dr. Busak, and that particular interview was shadow banned. But now the whole world is using the word genocide and ethnic cleansing, which is very similar. Both genocide and ethnic cleansing is a very similar concept to each other. That being said, you also may make a very important and relevant situation where questions were being asked about, so what can solidarity protest actually help the Palestinians? And that was a question that was on my mind as well. You mentioned that we need to continue our protests. And I thought, what can these protests actually achieve? But just imagine if the entire world was silent on the situation. Palestine would by now have been wiped off the face of the earth. So protest action, solidarity act, etc., does move mountains. It does make a very strong point, and it does mobilize our governments to make and take the right decisions regarding this particular situation or any other situation is concerned. And then lastly, obviously the South African Jewish Board of Deputies have come out very strongly. They've condemned the act of our government regarding the decision to withdraw all diplomats from Tel Aviv. They're not happy about it at all, and they're also asking the question, what happens to South Africans who are currently in Israel, who may need to come back to South Africa or find themselves in difficulties? Who's going to assist them? But clearly they are referring to South African Zionists that are residing there, or South African Jews who are residing in Israel.
This is the time, and I just want to come back to the importance of continued awareness, continued protest, continued solidarity work. This is the time where we can't allow ourselves to be complacent with this genocide. And so every day, whilst the Palestinians are struggling, being literally killed live on TV, we need to be strong, we need to be courageous, and we commend our government. It's not easy to fight Zionist forces both in South Africa and also internationally. There's bully tactics from America and the imperialists around trying to force us into submission, into silence. And we are very proud of our president and Minister Naledi Pandor, and we must continue supporting them. I think it's very difficult when at the United Nations, South Africa is the leading voice, and we continue supporting actions to withdraw and call for peace and call for negotiated settlement where this is happening. So we can expect pushback from the Zionists. Our struggle, our fight is not a religious struggle. Our fight is not against Christians or Jews or Muslims. We got it wrong. They got it wrong when it says it's to expose the occupier. The occupier in this current state is the Israeli government. And so we need to show our condemnation, our anger, and we need to enforce them, because they act with impunity. They act as if they are themselves God, and they are above the law and are untouchable. So I think we need to continue showing our solidarity everywhere we go. Unity must be expressed. South Africans must come together, and we can't allow our pettiness to divide us. There's a big march again this Saturday in Cape Town. We want to encourage everybody to support these marches and everywhere. And you see the solidarity even in Washington, even in London, in all the big cities across the world. Whilst the European governments are siding with these atrocities, the people across the globe is showing their love and solidarity towards the people of Palestine. So we must continue. We had this old slogan: "An injury to one is an injury to all." So we must continue this. I think we're calling on the Israeli soldiers, the Israeli ambassador. We're calling on all of those to put pressure on their own government to stop this genocide, and allow that humanitarian aid come in. We want the killing of the children and women to stop. We want a humanitarian corridor to be allowed, and we want a ceasefire in that area. And more importantly, we want the world to force Israel to allow Palestine to be liberated and to ensure that self-determination happens there.
Okay, let's go for an ad break. When we come back, we'll talk some more on this situation. My guest, of course, is Faiz Jacobs. He is a member of Parliament of Greater Athlone, and we're talking about the situation, the outrageous, atrocious situation being perpetrated on the Palestinian people by the Israeli occupiers. This is News and Views on Salam Media.
It's a new era. Salam Media. Humanitarian journalism.
Ah, the kitchen, the heart of the home, where memories are made and celebrated. Our go-to place for those freshly stacked pancakes early in the morning, or for that late-night snack munchies. We are in there together, cooking, eating, and celebrating life together. Let's keep the kitchen a place that is shared by everyone, where we build stronger bonds and grow together. Sunfoil, Now We Cooking. Visit nowwecooking.co.za for recipes that everyone can help make.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists, with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
There's no smell that takes me back to the comfort of my childhood than the smell of black seed oil being applied by my nanny. Now I'm using Tib black seed in my own home to soothe sniffles and coughs, to help with digestion and immunity, and of course, as part of my beauty routine. After all these years, I've come to appreciate the wisdom in finding comfort and shifa in trusted treatments like Tib black seed. You can find Tib black seed at all leading pharmacies or find out more at blackseed.co.za.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Welcome back. We're talking with Member of Parliament of Greater Athlone, and that, of course, is Faiz Jacobs. We're talking about the situation in Palestine. Faiz, earlier on in the discussion, you spoke about wanting to see a two-state solution once everything calms down. Hopefully it does. Once there's a ceasefire. And I'm wondering why you mentioned a two-state solution. And I'll tell you why. A couple of weeks ago, I spoke with Abir Zayad. She is an archaeologist based at Al-Aqsa. She's a historian as well. She was on a speaking tour as a guest of Salam Media a couple of months ago, 2-3 months ago. You may have heard her on one of her speaking tours. And when I raised the issue around the two-state solution, at that point in time, of course, nobody foresaw the situation we find ourselves in currently. She said that's off the table. According to her, it's off the table. They need to have the situation. It's got to be pre-1967 before, more land was grabbed by the Israelis. She said that the situation has to go back to where they were. The borders, the land, etc., must go back to pre-1967. And I'm kind of wondering, you, a politician yourself, how do you see that? That's one voice. I'm not quite sure if she speaks on behalf of all Palestinians, but given what has played out since the 7th of October, I think the playing fields have changed, have they not?
Look, I think our government has always advocated for negotiated settlement. We've always advocated for a two-state solution. Now, yes, the conflict in the Middle East and the religious wars goes back a long way. And ours is not to pontificate about the past and what ifs and our wishes and dreams, but really also allow the Palestinian people for the right to self-determination and whatever that in their definition. Because I don't want to be part of those Muslims that is just talking about Palestine in the abstract. I really want to see how we can look at what the realities are now. For me, I think the Nakba and the occupation is all real. It's still live. We know what had happened there. But if you look at our South African context, we couldn't ask for the occupier, the colonial settlers, the white British, to be kicked into the sea. And so we had we had to have a peaceful coexistence. And I think that is what is needed in that Middle East. It's not either or, but we need to have a mechanism where people can get along, because the eye for an eye will lead us all into blindness. So I know maybe this is not popular, and maybe it's not the time right now, given the harsh atrocities that the Israelis have committed. But I still, and I think a lot of us in South Africa are still calling for a two-state solution. We're calling for unity amongst the representatives of Palestine. We know Hamas and the Palestinian
PA.
Authority. Yeah, we need to ensure that they unite a people, because you see the divide and rule has been done so long. For so long, even within ourselves, even within the Palestinian people, even Muslim countries are divided. They all have their own economic interest, and the moral imperatives are being pushed to the side. So, look, I think that is our view for a two-state solution. But I think let's deal with the reality now. We need to force Israel. We need to get them to the negotiating table. We need to get them to stop the bombing and also affect them where it hurts them most. So if we call on where the we maybe must review our visas to Israelis, the dual citizenship. Those South Africans that's fighting in the IDF war must be charged, and those that have been committed by atrocities, they must be brought to book. Because if a South African Muslim is saying that he wants to go to Palestine and support the fight for Palestine, then they will be called terrorists. So why can't we have the same fairness for those kids from Yezalia in Cape Town, or from Zionist families that send their kids there and then they go bomb the hell out of the Palestinian people? So we need to be courageous. We need to show unity. A lot of people will say, no, it's impossible. The Israeli influence is too big. But we need to demonstrate our abhorrence, and we also need to be on the right side of the history. And so we need to continue pushback. I'm very clear that the Zionist lobby in South Africa is very strong. I'm very clear that they will continue to spin their narrative, to play the victim. But it's very clear for all to see that they are disproportionate in their attacks. They're killing indiscriminately women. They're bombing hospitals, schools. United Nations isn't even spared. So this is a apartheid Zionist state that needs to be shown, that we need to put international pressure and also get them to the negotiation, ensure that even their supporters are saying that they must stop. So that's the lobby, that's the phase that we are in now. We are calling for the Palestinians to have the right to self-determination. They must have statehood.
Faiz, my last question, final question. We're going to have to wrap up in a minute or two. What is very, very problematic here is the full-on support by America to Israel. We understand that several $billion of arms once again has been promised to the Israelis. We also know that their aircraft carriers, their largest aircraft carrier is in the Mediterranean waters on standby, including submarines. And for me, it just looks like a David and Goliath situation. I mean, you've got 2 million Maaf Palestinians. They're already being surrounded completely by the occupiers. They're being bombed to smithereens. And, you know, when I look at the American situation, is it not overkill? What message are they sending by all of these actions of theirs? Because surely if the American government tells Israel to stop the atrocities, it will stop. But they are further fueling and funding the atrocities. So they too will have to be held to account for war crimes, will they not? Or are they too strong and too powerful?
Indeed, I think you see the world is moving away from the unipolar world to multilateralism, where countries are saying we can't allow this big bullying tactics anymore. So even South Africa, with all our challenges, with all our issues, our government has been very consistent, raised their voice quite sharply against superpowers, and we express that we want a world where we can be at peace with each other and where we don't have this military-industrial complex. War is profitable for those that wants to continue this war. We will continue calling for peace. We are worried about the hawks in the West that is vying for blood, and whatever Hamas is doing is it gives them an excuse, permission to slaughter kids and women. And so we want to call for the world to have cool heads, even on all sides. War is definitely not the answer, but at the same time, we need to ensure that we defend Palestine, and we support Palestine. You know, everybody can talk the talk, and it seems sometimes very difficult and complex, and all of those things. But we need to continue with our faith, tawakkul to Allah. We need to continue with our support wherever we find ourselves. We need to express our solidarity, and we need to ensure that the world is slowly changing. I'm very hopeful. In all the Western countries, you see people across the world showing even. I mean, I was so encouraged by the workers in San Francisco where they stopped this war ship going and they chained themselves to the. So more and more people, and because the democratization of digital and social media is there, a younger generation that says not in our name, not in our name, and people are standing up. So it looks dire. We don't want a third world war. We already seeing there's different posturing, and it will be innocent people that will be killed. And what we're calling on for is level heads on all sides. I mean, I continue to ask our government to reach out to the South African Board of Deputies to ask them to also, because if they believe in faith and they believe in the importance of human rights, they must also put pressure on the Israeli government to come to the tables and to also call for negotiated settlement. We can't just also call for war. I think what we need to do is we expose the injustice, expose the occupiers for who they are and what they are, and we need to hit them out the economic sanctions. We need to call on our government to be bold and to call for economic sanctions, to boycott all Israeli products, to watch the monetary flight, to ensure that we prosecute and expose those dual citizens to that is fighting in the Israeli Defense Force, and expose them. So I think that the work is cut out for us. Thank you for your kind attention, and I appreciate you having me on the program. Shukran.
Lovely having you on. I appreciate your insights, and undoubtedly, I've been saying to all of the politicians that I've been talking with recently that I think we're going to be talking lots more in the coming future. ANC Member of Parliament, that is you, Faiz Jacob, shukran very much. Go well, and make sure that your voice is very loudly heard in Parliament on these issues. Go well. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Greetings to all the listeners.
8:35 news and views on Salam Media. Standing by to talk with us now is Trevor Shaku. He is spokesperson for SAFTU, and they are calling for Israel to stop the settler occupation of Palestine.